The king's royal clothes were gone. His golden crown was hidden far away in the palace. That night, under the pale light of the moon, he walked barefoot, his body wrapped in old rags that smelled of smoke and dust. His once proud hands now shook as he held a wooden bowl like a true beggar. The king had left behind all the glitter of his throne. He wanted to test the hearts of the women in his land. He wanted to find one with a soul pure as rainwater. He knocked on the first door in the village. A woman peered out, her eyes narrowed. She laughed when she saw his dirty face. "Go away, worthless man. I have no food for your kind." She slammed the door. The king stood still, his heart heavy. He went to the second house. Another woman tossed him half-burnt yam, not out of kindness, but mockery. "Eat this, beggar, since you love death so much." She jeered, and the neighbors laughed. The king's heart trembled. Was there no woman with kindness? But then, on the edge of the village, he knocked again. Slowly, a girl opened the door. She had no jewels, no fine clothes, only a torn wrapper around her body. Her eyes, however, shone like calm stars. She looked at the beggar and gasped softly. "Oh, you poor man," she whispered. "Come in, please. My house is small, but my heart is open." The king, still in disguise, felt his breath catch. Could this be her, the one he had searched for? Could this woman be the pure heart he longed to find? But just as he stepped inside her small hut, a shadow moved outside the window. Someone was watching. Someone who did not want the king's secret to be hidden. And so the story begins. Long ago, in a land where the sun painted the earth gold and drums carried news faster than messengers, there was a king named Oba Adeyemi. He was a wise ruler, beloved by many, but he carried a sorrow that no crown could heal. For though he had riches, warriors, and a palace carved with ivory, he had no wife. Many women came to the palace, dressed in jewels and perfumes. They smiled sweetly, spoke gently, and tried to win his heart. But the king's eyes were sharp, and he saw behind their masks. Their kindness was thin like dry leaves, easy to break. Some wanted only his gold, some wanted his power, and some wanted to sit on the throne beside him, not for love, but for pride. So the king made a choice that shocked his council. One evening, he gathered his chiefs and elders in the royal courtyard. The moon hung low, and the torches flickered like restless spirits. "My people," King Adeyemi said, his voice strong, "I am leaving the palace tonight. Not as a king, but as a beggar. I will walk among the women of this land and see who will open her door, who will share her meal, who will care for me when I have nothing. Only then will I know who deserves to sit beside me on the throne." Gasps filled the air. The chiefs looked at each other. The oldest among them shook his head. "Great king, you cannot do this. What if harm comes to you? What if the people do not know who you are?" But the king raised his hand. "If a woman cannot love me when I have nothing, she will never love me when I have everything." And with that, he removed his crown. He shed his robes. He dressed in rags, rubbed ashes on his face, and left the palace gates under the cover of night. The first village he entered was alive with music. Drums beat, and the people danced, for there was a festival. The king, now disguised, stumbled into the crowd with his wooden bowl. "Please, kind women," he begged, "spare a little food for a hungry traveler." Some women turned their backs. Others wrinkled their noses. One shouted, "Go to the river and feed on mud, beggar." The crowd roared with laughter. The king's heart sank, but he did not stop. He tried again at another home. A woman opened the door, looked him up and down, and sneered. "You are too dirty to step inside my house." She slammed the door so hard the dust shook from the walls. The king walked on, the night colder, his feet sore. But he remembered his vow. He had to keep going. Somewhere, he believed, was a woman with a pure heart. At last, on the edge of the village, he came to a small hut made of clay. Lights flickered inside. He knocked gently. A soft voice answered, "Who is there?" "A beggar, in need of food and rest," the king said. The door creaked open, and a young woman appeared. Her clothes were simple, patched in many places. She had no gold on her ears, no fine beads on her neck. But her face was warm, and her eyes were kind. "Oh, you poor man," she said. "You must be tired. Please, come in. I have only a little food, but I will share it with you." The king stepped inside. He saw a clay pot bubbling with soup, though it was thin. The woman broke her last piece of yam in half and placed it before him. She even gave him water to wash his hands, though she had to fetch it herself from the faraway stream. The king's heart stirred. Could this be the woman? But just as he lifted the food to his lips, he heard something outside. A rustling. A shadow passing the window. Someone was watching them. The woman looked up, startled. The king froze, his mind racing. Who was it? And why were they watching? Suddenly, the door flew open, and a tall, angry figure stepped inside. The door creaked and slammed against the wall as a tall man stepped into the small hut. His shoulders nearly touched the frame. His eyes glowed like hot coals in the dim firelight. In his hand was a long staff carved from ebony wood, the kind only hunters carried. The young woman gasped and rose to her feet. "Brother, what are you doing here?" The king, still dressed as a beggar, froze. "Brother." The tall man was akin. His heart pounded as he studied the newcomer. The hunter's voice thundered through the hut. "Amina, who is this stranger in our house? Why do you open your door to filth in the night?" He jabbed his staff toward the disguised king, his tone sharp. "Have you no sense? He could be a thief, a madman, or worse." Amina stepped between them, her small frame trembling but her voice steady. "Brother, he is only a poor traveler. He knocked at our door hungry, and I could not turn him away. He is no threat." The hunter's eyes narrowed, suspicion etched deep across his face. "And what if he brings danger to us? Do you not remember what happened last season, when strangers entered and stole goats from the village? You are too soft, Amina. Too trusting." The king kept his head low, but inside he was shaken. This was no ordinary meeting. The hunter's sharp gaze seemed to pierce through his disguise, almost as though he could see the crown hidden in the king's heart. The hut fell silent except for the crackling of the fire. Then Amina did something that startled even the king. She turned to her brother and spoke with quiet strength. "If kindness is a weakness, then I would rather be weak forever. This man was hungry. I gave him food. That is all. If he means harm, the gods will see, and they will protect us. But if he is truly in need, and I close my door, then I will be the thief, stealing mercy from another soul." Her words were like a river cutting through stone. The hunter's face softened, though only slightly. He lowered his staff, muttering, "Your heart will be your undoing, sister. One day, it may cost you dearly." With that, he turned and left, vanishing into the dark night. The king exhaled slowly. His hands shook as he set down the bowl of food. He had been close, too close, to being discovered. Yet in that moment, he saw something deeper in Amina. She did not protect him because he was strong or powerful. She defended him because she believed kindness was greater than fear. Still, danger lingered. Someone had been watching earlier, and now her brother's suspicion burned like a hidden flame. The next morning, the rooster crowed, and sunlight spilled across the small hut. Amina busied herself grinding millet, humming a soft tune. The king watched her quietly, amazed at how cheerful she could be despite her simple life. She had so little, yet she moved with grace, as though joy lived inside her bones. "Eat," she said, handing him a small calabash of porridge. It is not much, but it will give you strength. The king bowed his head. You are too kind. May the spirits bless you. She smiled. Blessings are not mine to give. I only do what I can. But before the king could reply, the sound of drums echoed through the village. They were not the drums of celebration. These were warning drums, quick, urgent beats that made the ground tremble. Amina froze. That is the chief's drum. Something has happened. She rushed to the door, and the king followed. Outside, villagers gathered in the square. The air was thick with worry. The chief's messenger stood tall, his face grim. Listen, people. There is a thief among us. Someone has been stealing from the royal storehouse. The king has ordered every stranger in the land to be questioned. The king's stomach tightened. This was not part of his plan. He had told no one of his disguise, and yet now fate had woven a trap around him. The crowd murmured. Eyes darted from face to face, searching for outsiders. And then someone shouted, "There is a beggar in the village. I saw him enter Amina's hut last night." The crowd's heads turned in unison toward her home. Amina stiffened. The king's breath caught. The hunter, her brother, stepped forward from the crowd, his eyes fierce. Yes, it is true. My sister sheltered him. He pointed his staff at the disguised king. Seize him before he runs. The villagers surged forward, anger boiling in their voices. Thief! Stranger! Bring him to the chief. The king could feel the news tightening. He had no guards, no crown, no proof of who he really was. If they caught him now, they might punish him as a common thief. Amina stepped in front of him, arms outstretched. Wait. You are wrong. He is no thief. He has eaten nothing but what little I gave him. You accuse an innocent man. But the crowd would not listen. They moved closer, their hands reaching out, ropes ready. The king's mind raced. Should he reveal himself now, or risk being dragged away like a criminal? And then, as the villagers closed in, the chief himself appeared, carried on a carved wooden chair. His face was stern, his eyes sharp. He raised his hand, and the crowd fell silent. Bring the stranger to me, the chief commanded. The villagers grabbed the disguised king by the arms. Amina cried out, trying to pull him back, but she was shoved aside. The king stumbled forward, his disguise nearly falling apart. The chief's eyes studied him with suspicion. Stranger, you come into our land in rags, and already theft follows you. Speak. Who are you, and why should we not punish you? The king opened his mouth, but before he could answer, a new sound pierced the air, a horn's cry from the royal messengers. The people gasped as riders stormed into the square, their horses kicking up dust. The palace has been attacked, the lead rider shouted. Enemies have come to our land. The crowd erupted in chaos. The chief stood, his eyes wide. The disguised king's heart pounded. An attack on his palace. And at that moment, his rags could no longer protect him. His secret was about to be torn open. Dust still hung in the air as the royal messengers dismounted their horses. Their spears gleamed, and their red cloaks fluttered in the hot wind. The villagers stepped back, fear in their eyes. The palace has been attacked, the lead rider repeated. His voice thundered across the square. The king is missing, and enemies may already be among us. Whispers erupted. The chief's face turned pale. The king, missing. His eyes darted to the disguised beggar in front of him. Could it be? The king felt the weight of the moment. His disguise was no longer safe. The palace was in danger, his people were confused, and the villagers already saw him as a thief. If he stayed silent, chaos would spread. He straightened his back, and with a steady hand, he pulled away the rags that covered him. The ashes smeared across his face fell to the ground. In the bright sunlight, his true form began to show. His skin shone, his eyes burned with authority, and his voice rang out like a talking drum. "Your king has not vanished," he declared. "I am here before you." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The villagers fell to their knees, stunned. The chief dropped his staff in shock. Even Amina's brother bowed his head, trembling. But Amina herself stood frozen, her eyes wide. Slowly, realization dawned on her. The beggar she had fed, the stranger she had defended, he was the king all along. The king's gaze softened as he looked at her. "You, Amina, showed me kindness when all others turned me away. You gave when you had little. You defended me when no one else believed. And now, the whole land will know, it is you who has a pure heart." But before joy could spread, a loud horn blared again. One of the riders fell to his knees, his voice urgent. "Great king, the palace is under siege. A rival kingdom seeks to overthrow you. They send spies into the villages to distract us. We must ride now, or all will be lost." The crowd erupted in fear. Women screamed, men shouted, children cried. The hunter brother stepped forward, gripping his staff. "My king, forgive me. I doubted you. But if enemies have come, then let me fight for you." The king nodded, his face set with determination. "Then gather your strongest. Tonight, we defend our land." The villagers rallied. Spears were sharpened, drums beat to call warriors from nearby settlements, and torches were lit to guide the way. The king mounted a horse, his true glory restored. Amina stood at his side, her heart pounding with both pride and fear. Before he rode off, he turned to her. "Amina, I cannot ask you to fight. But know this, when this battle ends, I will return for you." Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. "Go, my king. The gods will protect you." And so, under the blood-red sunset, the king led his people to war. The clash was fierce. Spears met shields, arrows flew like storms of locusts, and the air rang with the cries of battle. At the front rode the king, his courage blazing like fire. The hunter brother fought at his side, striking down foes with the strength of a lion. At last, after hours of struggle, the rival warriors were driven back. Their leader fell, and the land was saved. When dawn broke, the people returned in triumph, their voices lifted in songs of victory. The king, though bruised and weary, smiled as the palace gates swung open once more. But he did not forget his vow. Before the chiefs, elders, and all the people, he stood tall and called for Amina. She came forward, humble and trembling. The crowd parted for her like waves before a canoe. The king reached for her hand. "This woman, who gave food to a beggar, is the one chosen to sit beside me. Not because of beauty, nor riches, nor pride, but because of her pure heart." The crowd roared in agreement. Drums thundered, dancers leapt, and joy spilled like a river. Even her brother, tears in his eyes, bowed deeply before her. And so Amina, once a poor village girl, became queen. Beside King Adeyemi, she ruled with gentleness and strength. Together, they brought peace to the land, proving that true greatness is not in crowns or gold, but in the kindness that lives within the heart. And from that day on, mothers told their children this story, of the king who pretended to be a beggar, and the woman with a pure heart who became a queen.